Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Court-Martail Podcast. Introducing your host for this evening first. He is the host with the most from the West Coast, the Bay Area Brawler, Skyler Greenberg. And his partner, he has colonized, energized, and revolutionized the podcasting wrestling world today. Your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. We are here for another terrific edition of the Court-Martail Podcast, and we promise you that there will be no zombie invasion, there will be no lumberjacks who are going to eat the loser of the fall, because no one's losing here, ladies and gentlemen. You're just winning. Just like every single person out there who's ever listened to the Court-Martail Podcast, because we are the two cool dudes with the coolest reviews, and with me, as always, the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour, the Bay Area Brawler, Skyler Greenberg, alongside your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty. Skyler, I'm stumbling. I'm losing my grip here. Please bring us back together.
Now, you say that there's no losers, but after watching that lumberjack match, I felt like a loser, as did everyone else who had to watch that lumberjack match.
Yeah, and we'll get to that, and I imagine that is probably going to be the thing we talk about the most here, ladies and gentlemen, because it's going to be something. But we have an additional commentator for this show, do we not, Sky?
Yes, we do. We promised something special for this show, and boy, when you can talk about this man, you have to use the word special. Because at all the time, it is your boy, proper grammar PC notes Joshua. Cue my motherfucking intro.
It's time for Joshua Gadden's Notes of the Week. It's time for his Notes of the Week.
Firstly, I refuse to call this show WrestleMania Backlash because that is a fucking stupid pay-per-view name. Just call it Backlash. Anyways, Backlash has always been one of my favorite pay-per-view names, and now that they're doing anything they can to ruin it, specifically to spite me, put the stupid name out of the way, we find ourselves back in the goddamn Thunderdome. Fuck my tight, hairy ass. Okay, Joshua, I need to ask you, how do you know that you're tight?
I don't know why you want to know the answer to that question. Was that really worth asking?
There's so many things there that we have to unpack. So I'm not even going to breeze by it.
The least of which being not the fact that it was named WrestleMania Backlash. I don't get it. I don't understand, especially because none of the matches were rematches. They were partial rematches.
There were parts of matches from WrestleMania.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a full-fledged... Yeah, I don't understand the name change as well. That was kind of weird. Of course, we are reviewing this show, if it wasn't obvious already. And...
WrestleMania Backlash.
WrestleMania Backlash here. Yes.
Yes. Anyways, let me continue. For a show that no one cares about, but is hopefully mildly entertaining and not insufferably insulting, more on that shit later, I know the boys Sean and Stella have some words for the show. Let's start off this review with the first match with their opinions, while I see just how far I can show a monster can up my gaping pussy.
I swear, where does he come up with this stuff? It's like, it's so consistent. It's like, I don't want to say nothing because I love him, but he's so far into the closet, he's finding Christmas presents. It's, but...
I'm starting to question how many holes he has.
I'm not sure we want to know the answer to that, to be honest with you. But speaking of holes and ones that are plot-ish in nature, we have a plot hole of an opening match with Rhea Ripley, the Raw Women's Champion, taking on Asuka and Charlotte in the first of two championship triple threat matches.
We are completely skipping the pre-show because fuck the pre-show.
Oh yeah, I turned in right as the last second of Sheamus and Ricochet, and something happened, and then there was an aftermath, and I did not care.
Oh, Sheamus.
Oh,
Ricochet.
Ricochet, because we just talked about him. Oh, what a shame. Well, speaking of things that are shameful, what did you think about this match before I go into this? And please allow me to open up my substitute for a monster. It will be a cold brew of some description.
But anyways, Rhea Ripley versus Asuka versus Charlotte for the Raw Women's Championship. This match was good during the parts that Asuka was not on offense.
That's awfully specific.
That's how you have to go. So let's address something right out of the gate, okay? Charlotte Flair comes out, and she is a beautiful, dressed as the villain from 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah, I was going to say, she looked like she was dressed in cow print, but then I saw it was paisley, but all I could think of was cow. I don't know why.
Well, I thought 101 Dalmatians. I don't know what you were thinking.
You were probably, you're probably correct. I was not.
Yes. Anyway, and then comes Rhea Ripley, this giant, goth chick that's just going to kick your ass off. And then Asuka comes out, and man, she does not have the star presence or the aura that she once had to be able to match up with Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. Because if we had NXT Asuka in this match, boy, it would have been really, really fire. As is, she felt like the third wheel of the match we actually really want to see in the women's division.
Which is her role in the women's division, is the third wheel, even when she's champion, is to be the third wheel for the actual angle. That's her role. That's her gimmick. She's been doing that literally the past year, is nothing but that.
Exactly, being the heater for Sasha Banks and Bayley, being involved in the weird Alexa Bliss stuff, and now Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. And let's be clear, okay? Asuka is not helping her case with her offense looking like shit.
Yeah, I mean, Asuka, this match to me, I didn't really care for it. It was, first of all, Adnan Virk, this guy is basically a higher pitched Tom Phillips. And I know this is going to sound bad, but I was begging for some deeper voices in pro wrestling on this night. Because nobody's got a whole lot of bass in their voice on the commentary team. Even though Pat McAfee is terrific at what he did, and we'll get to that in a minute, nobody's got real depth or bass or boom in their voice anymore. Not on the commentary team, at least.
Not on commentary, not on announcers, and most of the wrestlers. That goes back to our conversation last week about promos and why they don't mean as much as they used to.
Yeah.
If you want to hear to that one, subscribe and listen to the Court-Martail podcast.
And what a downgrade this was from going from 2 months earlier having Tom Phillips, Byron, and Samoa Joe. And now we have got the reuniting of Corey Graves and Byron Saxton and another interchangeable Michael Cole clone on top of that.
And not even a Michael Cole clone that was as good as the original Michael Cole clone.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that this guy was bad. Obviously, he tried. It wasn't that. I just didn't care for him. And, of course, they do this whole thing with the triple threats. How come they can never get their rules straight on these triple threat matches? Because half the time they say that you can't get a rope break on triple threat matches, and the other half of the time they use it to save the match.
Because no one is going over the match rules and saying, this is what we're doing, and we're not changing it, and you gotta follow the rules. The problem with WWE is that they manipulate the rules to their liking for the situation or circumstance to the point where no one knows what the hell are the rules.
Yeah, and now, they've tried to say that, of course, no disqualification, no count out. Most of the matches on this show were no disqualification, I believe. The only one being Reigns and Cesaro, I think. And
the tag team match.
And the tag team match. Oh, and I guess Bayley and Belair was not as well. So I guess half.
But when you have six matches and half of them are no disqualification, no count out, the ratio should at least be 25%. Half of the show, 50%, it's a bit much, especially when there are multiple matches But anyways, the point is that if you have half of your matches are no disqualification, no count-out, it's going to get repetitive.
Yeah. And boy, I mean, having 2 triple threat matches on this show for world titles was repetitive in and of itself, which I thought really did a disservice to both these women and the main event. You know me, Sky. I'm a singles and tag match only type of dude. And this would have been better as a single. I wouldn't even have cared if it was a replay of Ripley and Asuka. I wouldn't have cared. It just... The triple threat just doesn't do anyone any favors. I don't think you can ever really get any proper storytelling in. You know, it's a spot match, and there's a bunch of moves, and the moves are cool, but this match got sloppy, fast, from everyone involved. And
it doesn't help that with these type of matches that we've seen them so much. Like WrestleMania Night 2 was main evented by a triple threat with much better workers, much better story going into the match. And you can make triple threats work like that match did, but you have to have the best of the best do it. And you can't do it with talent that clearly is not up to the level that Roman, Edge, and Daniel Bryan were. Like, and you were right, this match, they started out okay, like the first 5 minutes were fine, but then it just got sloppy.
It's when they did the double super kick, it started going downhill.
The double super kick spot, Charlotte's moonsault, my God.
I wish she'd just stop doing it. She lands on her feet 100% of the time.
Do a crossbody. Okay?
Don't do anything.
No. If she's going to do that spot where she jumps off the top of the rope, do a crossbody, okay? It is much easier to do than the moonsault.
Well, or just... She just rotates too fast. That's the problem. She over-rotates too early, and then she ends up going way past the people she's trying to hit. And she doesn't end up hitting them, and then they make it seem like she does the best moonsault in the business when she really doesn't. And then they do a Tower of Doom. And I did not care about the Tower of Doom because every time we have a triple threat match, we have a Tower of Doom.
Just think about this for a second, okay? What was it? I can't remember the pay-per-view. I know it was Money in the Bank when it was the Shield versus the Usos. I think it was... When did the Shield debut?
2012.
Okay, so that was Money in the Bank 2013. And they did the Tower of Doom spot. And that was the first time that they did the Tower of Doom in WWE in a long time. And just 8 years' time, really 7.5, but 8 years' time, they have used the Tower of Doom to the point where I don't care when I see it. And actually, I kind of cringe. I'm like, don't do the Tower of Doom.
Well, they have to. It's a triple threat match. You know, you got to get all the same spots in.
You don't have to do the Tower of Doom. They didn't do it for WrestleMania Night 2.
But with WWE being as manufactured as it is, I bet that they could probably, at this point, write down match templates to hand to people to memorize. I bet they could do that.
That's probably what they did for this show. Because that spot where all 3 of them are on their knees and giving each other the 1-2s.
Yeah. It was just... Ripley's strikes sound nasty. Her punches look great, as do Charlotte's. We've long discussed before that I have go-away heat on Asuka at this point. So I'm not even going to acknowledge it beyond that. But it's prevalent.
Exactly.
It's obvious here that she is the weak link, like you said.
Well, here's the thing. Charlotte is going to have that too if she keeps doing moves like the moonsault and the double natural selection, which looks clunky as hell.
Yeah, and then Rhea Ripley won.
With a finish that made Charlotte look bad because she kicked Asuka by being on the apron. They didn't show Charlotte trying to stop Rhea Ripley doing the riptide. We don't know what happened to Charlotte. She hit a boot. She should have been able to stop it, or at least be in frame of the camera, but I don't know.
Yeah, and that wasn't the first time. And this wouldn't be the only time on the show that the third person in the equation could have very easily broken up the count and then for some reason didn't. I see a trend here.
Right. And here's the thing. Asuka served her part being the person to get pinned. And I'm sure Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, because they kept teasing the hell out of it, is going to be a future match, one-on-one singles.
Yep.
And they may build up to a bigger show at maybe SummerSlam.
SummerSlam is what I think.
And Rhea Ripley gets her win back from Charlotte Flair. at WrestleMania 36, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Asuka at this point has no interest. I have no interest in her, and she's not going to do anything for any woman. I don't know.
It's so sad how
no.
far she's fallen in just a short period of time. When did she debut on the main roster? 2018?
No. It wasn't that, was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because it was the same year that Shinsuke Nakamura faced AJ Styles.
Okay,
that was when she lost to Charlotte. So she debuted on the main roster months earlier, but she had gotten there, won the Royal Rumble that year, same year that Shinsuke did.
October 22nd, 2017. But
yeah.
Still, that's...
But the time that she lost, which is basically the time that you could say that was pretty much it for Asuka, and we all said that was going to happen, and here we are 3 years later, and look where we're at.
Like, even though she wasn't at necessarily their level, we considered her to be among the horsewomen as being the best wrestlers in WWE. And now her stock has fallen so far, I would rather see Lana than see Asuka.
You know, I also think it's not her fault, too, because I don't think WWE style fits her strengths. I think she...
Not anymore.
No. And I think that her wrestling has regressed on that basis because she's tried to soften it up to WWE style, because that's probably what they've told her to do, which is fine because she's obviously making enough money in the business now to not care. But for what Asuka is as a gimmick, she fits better in some of the more hard-hitting promotions like a New Japan, or even I'd like to see her in AAA even.
But the other thing you have to remember is that Asuka is 39,
right,
and she works strong style. So she has a lot of miles on that body.
Oh, and speaking of, why is she called? She's 39 years old. Why is she called the Empress of Tomorrow still? It's been 3 years. She's here today. She's done been here today.
Because once you come up with a nickname, that you stick.
Well, speaking of nicknames that have stuck for an extremely long amount of time, what did Josh Again have to say about this match?
Oh, boy. So he starts us off with, when I pulled the monster out of my vag canal, it sounded like a champagne bottle going off. Also, no, I didn't watch the fucking pre-show.
All right, so we're all in agreement there.
Yeah. God, it sucks to be back in the Thunderdome. My enthusiasm for wrestling just took a nosedive. Might just rewatch Night 1 of Mania and call it a day.
I feel that, though. It was a significant difference going from fans at WrestleMania back down to the Thunderdome.
SummerSlam, please.
Yeah.
You're going to have fans again. It's really difficult to get into this match. I don't care about Charlotte. I don't care about Asuka. And I feel like Rhea shouldn't be wasting her time. First title reign with two opponents who are physical embodiments of the word meh and eh. I mean, yeah, we know that Joshua hates Charlotte.
Yeah, but Charlotte must be the eh. And meh has got to be Asuka. If we're going to put labels on the two. Because Asuka is meh at best. And Charlotte, she's not bad, but eh.
We've seen Charlotte. I mean, she kept talking about 14-time champion. I'm just like, God damn it, she's won that many titles.
Yeah, in a very, very short amount of time, no less.
Yep. Asuka's offense is so gentle it hurts to watch. Sean is right. Her stock was crashing so bad we might as well rename her America.
Oh.
Her code breaker did look decent.
Oh, that's right. She did do a code breaker.
Yeah, it wasn't half bad. And it's still a better code breaker than what Chris Jericho can do.
Yeah, let's not talk about AEW.
Yeah. Botox, I mean, Charlotte doing the... Okay. Okay, I'm going to struggle with this one.
Let's hear it.
Uranagi backbreaker, not Uragi. Uranagi backbreaker was hilarious because they had a cut around it to hide how fucking awful the move was.
Now, for those of you who are not laughing with us, we have an ongoing joke because one of the long reviews long ago on the TA Totally Awesome podcast, Skylar submitted notes for us for a pay-per-view review and called it a Uragi. And so And
it was TLC, by the way.
We were made really brutal. We were brutal with him that day, as far as busting his chops. And so here today, Skyler redeems himself.
Well, also the fact that I have been traumatized by that word that I cannot even look at it without sweating.
This was your redemption, Sky. You just made it. You just redeemed yourself. All is right with the world.
Thank you. Anyways, liposuction, Charlotte's moonsault was pretty, but looked about as devastating as Asuka's offense. Seriously, her arms were the only thing that hit anyone. Fake tits, Charlotte doing the double liposuction didn't look that horrible.
Oh,
but
God.
I can already tell that Sean enjoys this match.
He's right. I loved it.
This finish was weird. Charlotte kicks Asuka off the apron. Rhea hits Riptide on Asuka and wins, and Charlotte is on the floor, question mark? Did Charlotte fall off the apron, question mark? Did her and Asuka kick each other at the same time? Whatever. Also, Charlotte doesn't seem to be finished with Rhea and the Raw Women's title just yet. Hooray! Match was okay, but Charlotte's bored, so he the fuck with tears. Next.
I honestly can't wait until Rhea Ripley and Charlotte have another match, just a singles match again. And I hope they don't just hotshot it and put it in the cell. I'm really afraid they're going to do that.
That feels like something WWE would do, though. I mean, I wouldn't mind it in the cell because they've had history and they go back to WrestleMania 36 over a year and a half. So it isn't that far stretch, but that feels like something they're going to do. But if there's any two women who can pull it off, it's those two.
Yeah. But look, and it's those two in mind. And thank God that they have never just randomly put those two together as a tag team, because that could always still happen, Sky. But speaking...
yes, of course.
But speaking of tag teams, we have to move on to our tag team match. We get this pre-tape of they attacked Dominic Mysterio with an unwrapped couch. And so Dominic isn't able to compete. And as the doctor is telling Ray this, they actually put... I can't believe that Kevin Dunn, they put the deco of Dominic and Rey Mysterio as if we didn't know who they were. And then they go in and Ray's like, all right, I got this. So then it's Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode versus Rey Mysterio, quote unquote, alone. And did you think for a second that Rey was going to do this alone?
First off, no. And second, let's go back to that pre-tape segment for a second, okay? Rey and Dominic's acting is awful.
Was not convincing.
Whatsoever.
And we'll talk about Dominic Mysterio at the end of this matchup, because I know you just drafted him and I don't want to slander your newly acquired talent, but we're going to have to have a talk.
I will slander him on my own.
Oh, good. I'm glad. So as the slander begins, and we've got the SmackDown Tag Team titles on the line, and if you didn't hear... Well, this could be the first time a father and son are WWE Tag Team Champions. If you didn't hear that 54 times, would you know what the outcome was?
I don't know. Maybe.
Like, goddamn.
It's WWE.
Well, they do.
On a side note, I'm semi-surprised that Vince never put the titles on him and Shane.
I think Vince knew that the crowd would completely rebel against that. And not the way that they would want. It was bad enough with the WWE title, albeit how brief it was. It was also really bad when he won the ECW title and how brief that was. And both of those ended very badly for Vince McMahon because people did not like it at all.
I mean, come on. He and Shane got put over. He and Shane went over God, so anything could happen.
Well, speaking of anything could happen, we actually have a halfway decent commentator on WWE programming. Can you believe it, Sky?
Pat McAfee is so good, he makes Michael Cole passable.
I mean, you know who... I was mentioning you this on the chat as we were watching the show live. Pat McAfee reminds me of Jesse Ventura. There is something about his intonation and his tone and his verbiage is so good as far as what he's able to get across. You know, he's getting his point across, but he's also saying it in a way that isn't just the same garb and the same drab I don't know how to describe it. WWE manufactured. Pat McAfee doesn't sound manufactured. And it honestly made Michael Cole better.
Now give it 6 months and we'll see if he stays that way.
Yeah, that's true. He's not the first guy to have been, or person to have been promising on commentary at the start, only to have been beaten into submission later on.
I mean, I'm looking specifically at Corey Graves, because Corey Graves used to be great on commentary, and then he became what he is now.
And so let's hope that Pat McAfee will continue to do this. What do you think of the team named Dirty Dogs with a WG?
So first off, I hate that tag team name, but that's designed to get heat, so I'll give it that. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode make a really good combination.
I love
They're
that.
an underrated tag team.
I love them as a tag team. I mean, they're an underrated, even though they're the tag team champions, because Robert Roode is just a terrific tag team wrestler. He just knows how to get it done.
Experienced enough to know to do what he needs to do.
Well, the thing about this match was that 3 out of 4 of the competitors in this match are talented veterans who knew how to make this match happen. But the structure of this match was bad.
Although I will say Rey Mysterio doesn't have the same ability that he did in that match that we watched against Big Puma.
Well, I mean, how old is Rey now? You know, he's got to be in his mid-40s, and how many knee surgeries he's gone through. I mean, the fact that he can still move the way he does move is impressive enough. But yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Right. But you're right. The problem with this match is the fact that the way that they booked it, being 2-on-1, it felt like they were stalling. It felt like they were milking for time, which is obviously what they were doing.
I honestly didn't have that. The first part of this match I didn't have a problem with, because I thought that the heat was fine. I understood the premise of the angle. You know, at least it made sense. You know, Dom got hurt. Ray's going to go it alone for his son. You know, you knew that Dom was going to come back and try to help his father later, but, you know, there was the double teams. Ray's obviously outnumbered. That was fine. I didn't have a problem with that. But then Ray makes his own comeback, and then all of a sudden Dominic shows up.
And it would have been something if Dominic Mysterio had come out while Ray was still getting beat down. But Ray was actually doing the best he could to come back. And then he distracts Ray, and then Ray takes a move from Robert and Dolph and has to sell again in order to hope and try and make a tag, even though he didn't want to tag in Dom whatsoever.
Yeah, it was just, I didn't mind Dominic coming back. I got the premise of this, but there's 2 things before we get to this hot tag. First of all, Cole said that he interviewed Aaliyah, Ray's daughter, about him going at it alone against those 2. When the hell would he have had the time for that? In the 2 seconds after Ray found out that he was having to go it alone? How would she have had that information? How would he have had that information for that interview?
FaceTime.
Oh, yeah. Cole's FaceTiming Aaliyah at the... Okay. No.
Imagine she was one of the TV monitors at the Thunderdome and you talked to her via that TV monitor.
Well, you know what they should have done? They should have made the cut back to Michael Cole, because they had those back monitors all gimmicked anyway. We'll get to that. And so they could have had like 7 or 8 Aaliyahs right there as they mentioned that. And that would have... I'm
just glad we didn't pan over to see Corey Graves looking at a TV monitor with Carmella on.
Oh, God. It's just be him staring, like, not even at the commentary team. He's not even at the desk. He's just standing in the corner, just looking at the one monitor.
He's behind the commentary booth, looking directly at the TV monitor, jacking off Carmella.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Corey Graves, you are a human being. So then we get this counter into a Famouser, which was nice. And then they do this whole thing, and here comes Dominic. And then I thought this match should have had maybe 90 seconds to 2 minutes more in it. Then Dominic costs Ray and Dom the match, and that's it. Or they rally and win, and that's it. 2 minutes after that. But no. Ray takes in Dominic, and we have a second match on top of match number 1.
Because The second Dom came in, and then Ray tried to fight it off, and then Dom made the tag himself, not even having Ray tag him in, but Dom tagging himself in, the clock was ticking.
Yep.
And they took way too long to drive home the point.
They had another like 7 or 8 minutes of this matchup, and it would not end. And then they got a second set of heat. Then they re-tag back in Ray. Then everybody comes in all the time. They do this, they're all pros, so all the stuff looks good. But then Dom just didn't do it. They did a frog splash, which was eh. And then they, after saying 75 times that they're could be the first father-son tag team champions, then look what happened. Hooray, they did it.
And you could tell that the way they booked this match was to try and hide the fact that Dominic Mysterio is still really, really green.
How long was he in there?
Hide it from
2
us.
minutes?
2 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that as much as I like Dominic Mysterio, he is way too green. He is way too inexperienced to be in a match like this. He's only 24, but he really needs way more years of professional wrestling experience before you can put him in anything like this. He made his in-ring debut in 2019. He has basically 2 years of ring experience, and not even full-time ring experience because of the COVID-19 outbreak. This kid needs to be on the road, having match after match after match, night after night after night, before you even put him on TV.
Yeah, listen, I don't mind Dominic being there, but I tend to agree with Robert Roode when he had him in the corner and said, you don't belong here. And he really doesn't. I mean, he doesn't have the muscle tone that his father does. Think about that for a second. He looked out of place. He looked like a kid amongst wrestlers. So he'd fit perfectly in with AEW. So...
I mean, well, here's the thing. He's 6'1", so he's taller than most of the guys at AEW anyway.
Oh, that's true. That's true. They wouldn't like that.
But that's the thing, though, is that Dominic Mysterio, he's way too young. He's got the baby face, like baby face. He just needs way more experience before you put him in a situation like this. Or he should have been in a training program that would have been longer. Like, honestly, this is what NXT is supposed to be. But now that it's a third brand, you can't develop talent there because it's expected to be the best of the best.
Yeah.
So where do you put talent like Dominic Mysterio who truly, truly need experience? You're not going to send them on excursion like New Japan does, which is what they should be doing. What, you're going to put them in some promotion in the middle of nowhere that no one has seen with talent that's really bad just to hide him?
Yeah, well, we already said he's too tall for AEW, though.
Send him out to Mexico. Have him work with other luchadors in Mexico. That wouldn't be bad.
He's got the connects. And by the way, speaking of Mexico, of course, Michael Cole has to, at the very end of this, you have to imagine the late, great Eddie Guerrero would have to be happy about a frog splash. Stop bringing up Eddie Guerrero. You are pissing in that man's mouth. Enough.
Especially because Dominic Mysterio's frog splash was so gentle. He tried his best not to hurt Robert Roode, but made it look so soft.
Only Kevin Owens should do the frog splash. Period. End of sentence.
Because no one talks about Eddie Guerrero when Kevin Owens or Apollo Crews does it, but they always have to mention it when Dom, Ray, or Sasha does it.
This match should have been half as long. You would have gotten the same outcome with half the match. But here's the worst part about this. What this did is it made Ziggler and Roode look like complete bumbling idiots because they beat up Dominic Mysterio. They beat the piss out of Rey Mysterio, who's already got the size disadvantage as an underdog. Dominic Mysterio, who doesn't look like a wrestler, came back for 2 seconds, and then Rey Mysterio comes back, and then after all of that, all the heel work and all of that, they still get beaten. So what can they do against two small people?
I mean, the match idea would work. Like, Ray is still, despite being small, Ray is still very talented. If Dom was more experienced and looked better, the execution was much better, the idea could work. It just it failed, and it made Robert Roode, and it made Dolph Ziggler look bad. And what else would make people look bad?
What's that, Sky?
Joshua's note.
Oh, yeah.
Joshua's note.
Oh, boy. Let's hear what he's got to say about this bad one.
I really enjoyed the whole attacking Dom to make this a handicap, although I would have preferred Ray get attacked instead so the heels could focus on the more experienced and green son. Oh, well, they want to make Dom look brave by coming out hurt, so I guess that works. And that would have been even worse if you had Dom be the one to be in the ring, because he would have had Dom, he would have asked him to sell, and he would have asked him to have the facials, and he wouldn't be able to do it.
He'd have been real exposed.
So I disagree with that one, okay? You had to have Ray be the one to be in the match for the most of it.
Yeah, but again, I see Joshua's point. If Dom was actually more experienced, I see Joshua's point, but he's just not in that position yet. Not by a long shot.
And they partially booked this match to be this way to protect Dom because of how green he is.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Didn't really care for Ray's overacting backstage, though, but it's WWE. Authenticity is illegal in WWE, and that's why no one watches it. Oh, wow, that's harsh.
Well,
Ziggler and Ray going at it really made me have some 2009 nostalgia vibes. Go watch Ray versus Dolph for the IC title at Night of Champions at SummerSlam 09. Two damn good matches.
It is good.
That wheelbarrow flamaster was beautiful. That's the sentence.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I wrote that down as well. That was a good move.
This whole match has been nothing but heels getting heat thus far, and I'm 100% more entertained by this than the previous match in its entirety. Ouch, that sliding splash to the outside that Ray did on Dolph looked like it hurt. Ray landed knee first on Dolph. Finally, Dom comes out to a huge pop plate. Never mind, Thunderdome. More like Thunderdome. Really disappointed that they didn't do a father-son 619 like they did the Brock Lesnar back at Survivor Series 2019. The Mysterios win the tag titles and become the first father and son team in WWE history to win the tag titles. It's a feel-good moment and would feel even better if Ray was actually his father. Oh, wait, that 2005 ladder match with Eddie never happened. Good match in my opinion.
It was... No. Why don't we move on?
Had they done it... Had they did it better, it would have been a great feel-good moment.
It could have been.
Legitimately, I am happy for them because Ray does deserve it. Because of his long story career.
Yeah. But
that's not much that we can say about this next match. Now, Sean, let me set this one up, and I'll give it to you, and you just do your promo, okay?
Okay. Let's do this.
So we start backstage, and we have The Miz and John Morrison. And John Morrison, who goes by Johnny Drip Drip, apparently, is going to go and talk to the Lumberjacks and see if he can get an advantage for The Miz in his match against Damian Priest. So he goes to meet the Lumberjacks. He opens the door, and there's zombies. And he closes the door with a horrified face and walks away. Then it goes to a pre-tape of an Uso segment where Jimmy J. Uso are talking about the main event, and Jimmy still not being on board with the family business. And that part was actually nice, except for the fact that it was sandwiched in between John Morrison and The Miz talking about zombies, and then walking away, and then zombies walking towards the ring. And this set up what was obviously the worst match of the night, and arguably the worst match of the year, The Miz versus Damian Priest, which is a feud that no one cared about after WrestleMania, but they kept it going, and they decided to make it even worse by giving it a gimmick for a movie preview because of Batista, because the Lumberjacks are zombies surrounding the ring. And yes, I say that in 2021. And no, it's not a joke. And Sean, this is your promo time.
I just want to make sure that everyone out there are fine listeners of the Court-Martail podcast. I know you guys aren't deaf, but I'm going to reiterate what Skylar just said. Just in case you guys didn't watch this show and you're wanting to get a perspective on what he was just saying, Damian Priest faced The Miz in a lumberjack match where the Lumberjacks were humans disguised as zombies who also did not know how to act as zombies, including Zombie Elvis. And they were all on the side of the ring. And first of all, I was confused when the Lumberjacks all had just one locker room, right? Because I'm like, oh, so all the Lumberjacks just sit in one locker room? That makes no sense. And then we saw their zombies, and I'm like, okay, at least it makes sense they'd all be kept in one room. Because you wouldn't want the zombies getting out if you were just sitting on zombies for a movie promo. So it's come to this. WWE, I knew that when we got the news that WWE was bowing down and falling on bended knee to suckle the cock, as it were, in the most figurative sense of the word, I knew that there was going to be some point where they were going to mess WWE and try to plug stuff that NBC was trying to push. I knew it. And because this was Batista, and because Batista, I'm sure that this movie being released, this I'm Dead, Left for the Dead, whatever that, I don't even remember the name of the movie. I don't even care about the movie because wasn't even going to watch it. And now I'm really not going to watch it because they did hype this movie. I like Batista, but no. Before I get to talking about what this did to Miz and Damian Priest, because that's really my big concern, my thing here. I want to say I didn't watch this match because when I saw that they were actually having zombies be the Lumberjacks and how the three weenie announcers all jumped up on the edge of the scene, they were, oh, don't get me, humans disguised as zombies. On a professional wrestling show, I don't know if I've mentioned that before, and these zombies became the Lumberjacks. And as soon as I saw that they were actually going to try to have a legitimate match during this, I was like, nope, absolutely not. Same thing like when I saw the bowling ball and the turkey legs during, was it Backlash last year? I think it was. It was. It was, and Backlash has really not failed to disappoint. Because here we are once again. I didn't watch the match. I was like, I couldn't do it. I was busy uploading and editing a different channel's videos, which I am not going to cross-pollinate this time. But if you want to check that out, I'll have a link in the description to the channel, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But I left it, and I just thought, boy, from Bad Bunny to zombies, this feud really knows how to deliver. Would you like to talk about the match itself before we go into what this did to these individuals? Besides, of course, being eaten.
So, let's get something straight. AEW does blood and guts, and WWE says that set the business back 30 years.
Oh, the gall they have.
Also WWE, this match.
The gall they have to critique AEW for a little bit. They have every right to critique the crash pad. They have every right to do that. I'm not saying they should. But that's not what WWE was annoyed with. They were annoyed with all the good parts of the match beforehand.
Well, I mean, the good parts, but also the fact that they had the blades and the fact that they were obvious with the blades.
Yes. Well, that's what I mean.
And just... I mean, you can be fine with blading, but I don't want to see Chris Jericho waving the blade. But that's another review for another time. We'll get to that when we get to that later.
True.
This match sucked, complete, and other ass.
I bet.
And I watched it because I couldn't stop watching it. It was one of those things where you're watching the train wreck and you're seeing the people dying, but you can't look away because of how horrific it is.
Yeah, careers were dying on this night. And some were coming back to life. They were
dying on our screens in front of us, slowly but surely, as Miz and Damian Priest pretended to have a serious wrestling match while zombies were outside the ring. And no, I am not hyperbole. This was awful. And anyone who attempts to try to defend this piece of shit, you are not a professional wrestling fan. You're not even a fan of sports entertainment. You're just have terrible taste. And I want to punch you repeatedly in the face because you would defend this shit. I cannot take this stupid movie promo for a really shitty horror movie. This is not even... It'd be one thing if it was a good horror movie. It's not even a good horror movie. Just because of Batista, you know it's going to suck.
Well, it's not like Batista's bad. It's just... think about what time of year this is coming out. This is coming out in the end of spring before summer blockbusters. Nothing good comes out in mid-May that's worth watching most of the time.
Well, actually, that's not true because the Avengers movies sometimes came out in May. But the point is that this movie was just bad. And this match was bad because it was bad. And I know I'm mixing the word movie and match. They're the same thing at this point because this was a cinematic pre-tape. This was basically a cinematic match that WWE does, which really pisses me off.
Which you know they would only get away with in the Thunderdome. This is the only way they
only get away with it in the Thunderdome because they can cheat and finally do the things that Vince McMahon and Vince Dunn, or Kevin Dunn, they're both the same people at this point. Vince Dunn, that dreamy couple, Vince Dunn, can finally do what they've always wanted to do, which is make movies, even though they have WWE films. But really, they've been wanting to do it like wrestling matches, and here they are living their midlife crisis on cocaine and hookers.
Well, hold on. This isn't Herb Abrams here. This WWE's offices are not nearly that interesting. This is geriatricism right here. This is complacency and a 75-year-old booking for contemporary audiences.
And to make it even worse, there was a spot where Damian Priest landed on The Miz's knee, and that caused a torn ACL on The Miz's behalf. And I know you hate... Think about this for a second, okay? 2 months ago, The Miz was WWE champion.
Yeah.
Now he's having his ACL torn during a match where he's wrestling Damian Priest and zombies who are trying to eat him.
After he got pinned by the Rapper at WrestleMania.
After he got pinned by the Rapper at WrestleMania. The Miz's career is dead. Just as dead as he was after this match when the zombies decided to eat him. And Damian Priest, any hope of a star, any hope of someone who could have a career that could be something that would at least be in the mid-card as a champion, or maybe even world champion contender from time to time, dead. Johnny Drip Drip or John Morrison, whatever he wants to call himself.
Done.
Johnny Nitro, Johnny Impact.
Done.
Johnny, go fuck yourself.
Done. Now, here's my thing. And this is kind of, you basically hit all the points that I was going to say, Sky, because how do you look at a Damian Priest match the same way ever again after this? Before he goes out to fight a guy like Cesaro, who's going to be wielding a couple Swiss Army knives, and he'll show you 6 ways to do it, and the MyPillow guy is going to be there whenever somebody falls. That's what we're getting to, folks.
I was about to say, it's just going to turn into like a WWE video game. It's like Roman Reigns versus Snake Eyes. Also, tune in to watch the G.I. Joe's movie.
This is the sign of things to come, folks. So if you want it, and now that Peacock has all the old tape library, you can't even see how it was supposed to be done. And this is the ultimate end game.
Just censored and edited with all the good stuff out.
So this is what it's come to, ladies and gentlemen. So if you wonder, or if you're one of those people who say, oh, wrestling's in the middle of a boom right now, it's better than ever, I want you to open your eyes. Because wrestling is gone. It's done. It's over. And all that's going to happen now is wrestling's going to peter out until the time it becomes unprofitable or doesn't even look anything like what pro wrestling used to be. And we're getting closer and closer to that by the day. What did Josh get now to say?
Not... Well, how do we go from you and me getting mad to him getting mad? So where in the actual fuck do I begin with this shit? They have been teasing the zombies throughout the show to this point. I was thinking, there's no way they can be this retarded. There's no way. Well, it turns out not only are they that retarded, but they have enough extra chromosomes to where they can start a new business enterprise in selling short buses.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do people watch this company?
Hey, now, wait a second. Hold on. Before you continue, I take exception to that short bus comment because it just so happens that your Colonial champion had no choice when he was a kid because he lived in the boondocks of New York, and the only bus that came to his goddamn house was a short bus. And every time I say that, Somebody says, oh, that makes way too much sense. So I take exception to you, sir. And that comment of yours, because not everybody who rides a short bus is the stereotype. Hashtag not all short buses. Continue.
Wait, hold on. Did he actually know that you used to ride short buses?
No, he didn't. I'm revealing that for the first time here to the public.
I love how he takes a dig at you and not even knowing that the dig existed in the first place.
Well, I'm gonna have to have a talk with Josh again here off camera. We're gonna have to have a little father-son chat. But anyway.
Okay, Chris Jericho, whatever you say.
Yo, we have to parlay. We have to continue.
They're literally fighting around zombies. I take Katie Vick over this. I'd open wide and get tumbled up by Triple H wearing a cane mask over watching this. Damian Priest just landed on Miz's leg. I bet that hurt. Yes, it did.
It sure did.
ACL. This match is still going on. What the actual fuckity fuck? So Priest wins, and Miz and Morrison are eaten alive. Fuck this. Fuck WWE, fuck Miz, fuck Morrison, fuck Priest, fuck Vince, fuck Batista, fuck Zack Snyder, and fuck this stupid zombie movie that I'm never going to watch. Holy fuck, dude, minus 10 stars. Quick question. How the fuck am I supposed to get into this match after watching the fucking abomination I just witnessed attention to still? Fuck me, just impale me with your dick. You're referring to Bianca Belair and Bayley.
Well, that's pretty much what we said.
This match ruined the rest of the show. I actually told you guys in the group chat,
yeah,
I don't want Cesaro to win the Universal title because whenever people talk about the show, they're going to talk about the zombies and not the fact that Cesaro became world champion.
Yeah.
Or if Cesaro became world champion, you have to say it happened on a show where zombies existed.
Well, I wasn't too worried about Cesaro winning the belt on this show. To tell you the
I'm
truth.
still dreaming, Dan.
I know, and I felt it too.
Now, do you want to know how they could have saved this whole zombie thing?
By not doing it?
Well, yes, obviously. But what they should have done is have Damian Priest win, and then Morrison end up in the ring, and all three of them are surrounded by the zombies. And then Batista comes out, and the zombies start charging the stage to attack Batista, and Batista does the machine gun pyro and kills all the zombies.
Batista should have just gone in and done wrestling moves to kill all the zombies. Just that they all feed him, he just starts punching them all, and then the zombies all run away.
No, because if Batista did the machine gun pyro, it would be the payoff to him doing that pyro for over 20 years, and tell me you would not be excited.
Well, I don't think the zombies... I can't believe I'm even saying this sentence. Pro Wrestling in 2021, folks. I don't think the zombies would be able to sell Batista's pyro properly. That's right. I just said that. Think about that and try to sleep tonight, folks. You pro wrestling fans out there. Ugh. Can we move on from this, please?
We can't, because every other match after this was ruined because they had to follow zombies, especially Bianca Belair versus Bayley.
I know. Well, thankfully, I didn't watch this match, which helped. It helped. Honestly, taking that time to just take the break, it allowed me to see this match with fresh eyes. As although the damage was done.
My eyes were glazed over for basically the next 45 minutes. So this match and the triple threat afterwards suffered because of it. I wasn't back into the show until the main event. I mean, I know I watched the match, but I was still just gone.
Yeah, I don't even blame you. But this match, most of this match was really good. It is Bayley versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This match, I would argue, was the better women's match on the night.
I mean, it helps that it's only a one-on-one.
Well, that's true. It does kind of win by default. And then they put behind, and I said we were going to get to this later, behind Michael Cole and Pat McAfee are like 9 or 10 Thunderdome screens that all have the zombies that just ate The Miz and Morrison. And so they start this match out. This match was fine. I think Bayley right now is the best heel worker on the show in WWE right now.
Oh, that's a bold. Okay, women's division, because I don't think she's better than Roman Reigns.
Well, I don't include the finish to this match. I'm talking overall heel work. Roman Reigns does good heel acting, but as far as heel work is concerned, I give that to Bayley. As far as like the little wrestling things and the referee diversions and things like that, Roman Reigns does them and they're fine. But Bayley is really good at referee manipulation and getting those little things. She gets more subtle things about being a heel, and I think that Bayley, honestly, I love Roman Reigns. I'm not saying Roman Reigns isn't terrific, but Bayley is not appreciated enough for how good she really is as a heel.
And just think, we said long ago when she was in NXT, I don't think Bayley could ever be a heel because she's so damn good as a babyface.
I think Bayley is an all-around terrific wrestler. Might be one of the best that WWE has for what they've got going. It's a shame that her title run wasn't better received.
Well, the thing with Bayley, and this is the part that gets off on people and why they're not overlooking her, is that she's not flashy. At least among the other four horsewomen, she's the least flashy of the four of them, but she's the most consistent.
Yeah.
And she's able to tell the best story in the ring by far.
Yeah.
And that's what helps her stand out amongst the other women, is that no one has the storytelling that she does. No one has the subtlety, the little things that make a wrestling wrestler work.
Like pulling the earring. I loved that as a heat spot. That was a great move. I thought it was like, oh, she's got an earring, which is a viable women's match heat spot. Something you wouldn't expect that doesn't get done in men's matches. I like that. It's something different that sets those matches apart and makes them more interesting.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing. I kind of glazed over this match, so why don't you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, I will. No, I will, because I liked a whole lot of this except the finish. But the rest of this was fine. They did a really good job. They paced it well. Bayley, like I said, was just great as far as like she did the rake to the eyes. She did the foot on the ropes, just enough to be a nuisance, but enough to give it a good pace and keep going. And, they did the counter into the ring, the head post. And this was my favorite match up to this point because of how well it worked back and forth. Bianca Belair sells incredibly well. She's got a great look for when she's in pain.
It helps with Bianca is that she's very good at the facial. She's very good at selling the pain.
Yes.
And you can definitely tell that of the two of them, even though Bianca is not necessarily green, Bayley is doing a great job of leading her, and Bianca's very good at following.
And it catered to her strengths.
Because Bianca is still working. She's not as experienced as Bayley, so she still needs more match experience, and she's going to get it by working with veterans like Bayley.
Yeah.
You know what's the comparison I have for Bayley? And it's not in the physical capacity, but in the way that they work. Even though it's not a high-octane style, I see a lot of Kane in Bayley, in that consistent, smooth, easy storyteller.
I understand what you're saying. I get it.
Kane did not work an exciting style, but he was always consistent, and his matches were always at least watchable or passable, or very good depending on the opponent.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the style or the moves that the comparison lies in. It's more in the work of as far as like the pacing and the diction of a match and how it's structured. Bayley's matches are usually structured on very well on that basis as well. I see what you're saying.
Right.
And so, but then they do this. They do this ripcord into the Bayley to belly, which looked awesome. And then they do this finish. Bayley tries to use Bianca's hair, which, as we've discussed, is a gimmick, but we're not supposed to know that. It's supposed to be real hair. But they do this thing where Bayley tries to use the hair, Bianca counters, and then Bianca rolls Bayley up and uses her hair to loop the leg to gain the victory. But then she drops the hair and then has to pull it back around like it was on the whole time, and she didn't get it loose, so then she lost the advantage that she was supposed to have to get the finish, but that still doesn't make any sense because Bayley's the heel, and now Bayley actually has a gripe because Bianca's hair is an illegal move, well, theoretically, as far as wrapping the leg around and using the extra leverage to gain the finish. I just don't think that this was a heelish move for Belair to do to retain the title that made Bayley look like she got screwed over and actually has a babyface gripe. Even if Bayley is irritating as hell, the psychology of this finish was backwards. And they always do this at least once on every one of their shows where they have the babyface and heel roles reversed. And I don't get it.
Now, hold on. Let me counter your arguments, okay?
Please do.
The way I see it is that Bayley tried to cheat by using Bianca Belair's hair, which is a part of her physically and why she's allowed to use it in matches, even if it's technically not her hair, which, again, gimmick hair. Well, doesn't spoil that right now. Gimmick hair. But the whole thing is that Bayley tried to use the hair to cheat, and then Bianca reversed it on her and gave her a little bit of fair about term. What's the term called?
Turnabout is fair play. I got what you were driving at.
Turnabout is fair play, and Bianca used it against Bayley, and that is how a babyface should counter a heel when the heel tries to cheat. The only problem was the execution, because the hair slipped, and Bianca had to try and save it, but she couldn't quite do it in time, and it just made the whole finish look bad. I do agree, the finish was bad because the execution was bad, but I understood what they were trying to go for.
No, I get that. I'm not saying, I totally get that, and I get your point, Sky. I totally do. Here's my thing. An eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, and if your babyface is supposed to be the model of righteous and uprightness, even if it's turnabout fair play, aren't you supposed to be the one who's not doing the turnabout? Who's better than the turnabout, being the bigger person, the defending champion who should be the bigger person, who doesn't need to rely on that? You could have just pinned Bayley with the roll-up and have Bayley trying to cheat be what costs her the championship, and then Bayley can still use some sort of hair argument to justify that claim and keep the feud going. I get what they did, I get why they did it, and as you said, the execution was bad. I just think that this didn't give Bianca the babyface shine she could have had from it.
But I mean, here's the thing, is that there have been examples in history of babyface wrestlers who use less than clean tactics, but that's part of their character, and because it's part of their character inherently, and the fans are over enough with it that they're excited by it, that they let it go. For example, and I know we mentioned him earlier, and I'll mention him again, Eddie Guerrero used to cheat in his matches, and he was a heel for most of his run. But when he was a babyface, and he cheated, the people loved it, and that's part of his character intrinsically. And it's the same thing with Belair. Belair started out as a heel, and she used her hair as an advantage, and people hated her initially. But then she got over. She became a face. But she still used the hair because that's part of her character. And she's not using it in an overtly heel way. She's not taking the hair and putting it around Bayley and choking her with the hair. She's using it as a way to win matches, but she's not being a super heel by using it.
I see what you're saying, Sky. I do.
Plus, the other thing, too, is that I don't like the clean-cut babyface being every single babyface. I like some babyfaces that have some shades of the heel. Makes it more interesting when you have more varied in characters. Plus, it makes Bianca Belair look smart, which is what I want in babyfaces, because most of the time in WWE, they make the babyfaces look like idiots.
Well, I totally agree with that. I will counter with this point, though. On her very first title defense, does she need to be using those kind of tactics to win? If this was a match, just saying, take this in a vacuum, right? If let's say that this was a match against somebody else, let's say they had a rematch with Sasha Banks or something like that, and then she could beat Sasha convincingly, and then next month after her first title defense, her second title defense, she faces a more formidable challenger in Bayley, someone who has had a record of being a championship, and then she does this. Then it would make more sense, at least because she's fighting somebody tougher to defend that belt from. But on title defense number one, this makes it look like her title win was not as emphatic as it was. I get what you're saying, Sky. I totally understand, and I'm not saying I disagree with you. But at the same token, does this not do Bianca? What could she have gotten out of this as far as the defending babyface champion? And especially because the way that she was lining this up was, oh, I did this and I've been working so hard for this and I finally got this and I did it my way, right? And then all of a sudden to go from that to be, oh, well, I'm going to kind of use a somewhat cheap move to win. To me, it just doesn't match what they've been presenting her as up to this point. To have this finish benefit her in that way going forward.
And let me counter your arguments with the fact that it is Bayley, and Bayley is recognized as one of the best wrestlers in the women's division. So you need to pull out all the stops. And the fact of the matter is that if this was against a lesser opponent, not even Sasha Banks, but Sasha Banks is still really good. Let's say someone like Nikki Cross or Mandy Rose or I don't know who.
Literally anybody else.
Literally anyone else that was not a horsewoman or Rhea Ripley. If it was against anyone else other than the top echelon, I would totally be in the same agreement because I wouldn't like it. But because it's Bayley, and because Bayley is a tough opponent, you have to pull out all the moves you can. Plus, again, it gives Bayley the ability to argue like she did after this match that, hey, I got cheated out of this. And Bianca could be like, hey, you tried to cheat first, and I just used the same terms about fair play. So it can continue the feud. And I'm fine with these women wrestling again, maybe with a stipulation further on to add more heat to it. I'm just worried they're going to have Sasha Banks come in and make it a triple threat.
Oh, God, you think we're going to get a triple threat Hell in a Cell? Oh, Lord.
It smells like it, doesn't it?
Oh, God, but we're just going to have to agree to disagree on this one, Sky. I think there are plenty of arguments to be made about both. Maybe the answer's somewhere in the middle, but let's hear what wheel number 3 has to say.
And speaking of the person in the middle, Bayley shaved fell loser in the back of her head because this show is made for stupid kids. Oh, sorry, for fucking stupid kids. I love how Bianca was.
I love how you corrected yourself to put the swear in.
No. I didn't read the swear, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna read the swear.
Gotta do it.
I love how Bianca was in complete control of this match for several minutes before Bayley finally snuck in with something crappy to take over. More stuff like this, please, and less fucking zombies and supernatural horror shit. You hear that, Bray Wyatt? You hear that, Alexa Bliss? I don't want to see either of you guys either.
Ever.
How the fuck did we get to a point where Bayley's offense is more believable than Asuka's? How the mighty have fallen. Well, let me tell you something. While Bayley's offense is not high impact, it still looks like it hurts because she actually still tries, damn it.
Yep. Agree.
Anyways, Bianca is fucking great. Everything she does in the ring is beautiful. Enough said. In case you're wondering why I haven't mentioned anything about the announcers, it's because I've completely tuned them out. I have mastered the art of selective mutism.
I'm jealous.
The finish was one of those finishes that was awesome conceptually, but probably aren't the best in practice. Like using hair as leverage for a finish is great conceptually when the weapon as a wrestler's hair choice. And how was this ever not going to be botched? I mean, the alternative is doing the hair whip again, which I appreciate them not doing. Maybe have Bianca try and have Bayley dodge, roll up Bianca, then Bianca counters with her own roll up and wins. That would have been better than this botched finish. Oh well, decent match, messed up finish.
Yeah, everything else but the finish was fine. I loved the rest of this match.
What they probably should have done, and you're right about this, is that maybe have Bayley do a surprise roll with a handful of trunk or feet on the ropes, and then Bianca counters it into a roll and then wins.
Yeah, it's just for this first title defense I would have liked. For example, it's like what they did with Drew. When Drew faced Seth, and Drew just beat Seth convincingly, logical step forward, I beat somebody, not a problem. This is just fortifying, yes, I am the champion. Maybe Bayley should have been saved for later for this feud. So we could get a couple establishing wins for Bianca Belair beyond just Sasha Banks. Maybe that's just the problem I have with this. Any other time but now, I'd accept this finish.
But the problem, again, is that the women's division is so shallow.
Thin.
You have Bayley and Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair on SmackDown. And who else? And I'm a guy who usually tunes into these shows, and I had trouble naming the women that are on the SmackDown roster.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, it's, who's to say? But what the bottom line is, we're going to get another match between Bayley and Bianca, hopefully unmarred by Sasha Banks, but who knows?
But it feels like it's going to be part of it, doesn't it?
Well,
now that, especially because Hell in a Cell, which is the next pay-per-view on June 20th, not in October.
Not upset with that at all. Honestly, I like it. But speaking of things that were ruined by being made a triple threat, we have our second one of the night. After MVP gets a good promo because MVP knows how to talk and everything he says sounds great. We have Braun Strowman versus Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE title. What did you think?
This match was really good for the parts that didn't have Braun Strowman be on offense. And does that sound familiar? Because it should sound familiar.
It's funny. You say this, guy, and I think of what we said at the very end of last video, of last week's, where we ran through the card, and we said the first triple threat match, it'll be good until Asuka ruins it. Check that off the list. And then we said Braun Strowman versus Drew versus Lashley. Should be good until Braun does something to screw it up. We could check that one off the list.
Now, I will say this. I did miss part of this match because I was having connection issues. I came back when Bobby Lashley got exploded. So talk about the first part of the match.
All right, well, my prediction for this, the first thing I said was that this match is probably going to hit hard but likely not be great. It was honestly fine. It was fine. I don't have any huge gripes with it. I don't have any huge praise of it. It was fine. It would have been better without the first triple threat match of the night. Just for the fact that it would have been the only triple threat of the night. So, they do this big... They start out, there's a quick flatliner to begin, which was cool. I think Lashley did it. And then Braun Strowman does a double dive and nearly breaks his goddamn neck. Lands on his head.
Is it true that he moved his head to be in between both of them?
Yes.
And even tucked it, which made it more dangerous?
Yes. He definitely did. I was like, he laid it square on his dome. And then...
I mean, at least he did a cannonball properly.
He did. Well, and then Drew did a splash, which I hate because Drew should be one of those people not doing a splash. But it was doing fine. And then the weapons arrived. Why did this need weapons? It wasn't necessary. Then Drew and Bobby go fight, and the babyface Drew puts the heel Bobby through the Titantron, which then was, exploded. And I mentioned it when they did this with Braun and Lashley a couple years ago. Those light boards are made out of, like, the thinnest plastic they could find. So it looks like you're basically going through a wall of bead, like the door that has the beads on it. And then we don't see Lashley for like 20 some odd minutes. Well, that's an exaggeration, probably like 8. And
it was only like 5.
Well, it was long enough where they just kind of sat him back there. And all the suplexes in this match looked great. Because they looked nasty. But I did note that suplexes on an LED ramp do not have the same effect as the old metal ones. Because you don't hear the thud as well as you do when you had the metal ramps.
True, although the LEDs are probably a little bit softer.
Maybe. I don't know what it's like to land on several pieces of plastic as opposed to metal, especially in that kind of concentration. But then they fucked with the... Kevin Dunn kept putting in chants that just killed everything. I mean, I don't... What's there to say about Kevin Dunn's Dunderdome work that hasn't already been said? It's the same shit every time.
what else can be said? I mean, we've said it over months at a time, over a year at a time.
Yeah, and it's been the same stuff. It hasn't changed, folks. Good moves happen. Kevin Dunn ruins them with chants that we know are obviously not there. Then Drew hits a Falcon Arrow that looked absolutely vicious. I don't know why it was called a Michinoku driver, though, because it wasn't quite a Michinoku driver. It was more Falcon Arrow.
There's no actual professional wrestling moves.
But that's okay. There's only one. Two of those three people on commentary had ever been in a wrestling ring before, and neither of their careers were that long.
And neither of them were that good.
And neither of them were that interesting. But honestly, this match was the better of the triple threat matches. It still had some understanding to it. The ending sequence kind of made sense because they did the Claymore to Braun, and then Lashley came back and threw Drew out and then hit the spear on Braun and covered Braun for the win. But Drew looked like he could have easily gotten in there and broken that up.
Maybe Lashley should have hit Drew with a spear and then hit Braun with a spear.
Or just show Bobby Lashley hitting Drew onto, like, the steel steps or something. You know, something. Don't make it look like Drew just wasn't paying attention. Don't make him look like that much of an idiot. And I understand this was accomplished the same purpose. They're trying to get Bobby and Drew in the cell, which I'm all for. But they did the obligatory table spot. This match was just, it was fine. It was not good. It was not bad. It was just fine.
It was a filler match to get to hopefully a better match at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
The only thing, though, is that I really hope they don't climb to the top of the cell and Bobby Lashley pulls out a pipe that looks like a lightsaber.
Yeah, well, yeah, God. Well, let's hope the zombies don't bust into the cell. And
oh my God, no.
God, what? Yeah, what movie's coming out next month? We should preempt the attempt. We should preempt the attempt by WWE to shove a movie promo in our faces and see which one they're gonna go with this time.
Well, I'll look it up. Anyways, in the meantime, while I'm looking this up, shall I read? Oh God, Joshua. Shall I read Joshua's notes?
Yeah, let's hear what he's got.
How is this not the main event? All right, it's the WWE Championship and not the Universal Championship. Fuck this company. I mean, at least it was close to the main event. It was the co-main event. So.
And besides, considering what the main event was, this match should not have main evented.
Right. I will never get tired of seeing Drew and Bobby suplex each other around the ring, ever. That stalling vertical suplex on Braun by Drew and Bobby was a thing of beauty.
That was cool. Even though it didn't make any sense because it was people who had been feuding for months teaming together, even though it's a triple threat, but still.
How did Strowman screw up the choke slam? It's a choke slam. Dude, how the fuck does this guy get over? All right, wrestling fans are dumb.
Well, it was a good, 8-month stretch that he was over.
I mean, I was one of the people who was on the Braun train, and then I got off the Braun train.
Before they added the choo-choo noises.
Choo-choo. Christ Strowman with an apron sent on to both Bobby and Drew. Cutie, you still suck chance, Kevin Dunn. I know you have the beer, boy.
Well, he knows how to make chance happen.
I'm more into this than anything else on the show, not gonna lie. This is a fun three-way. I love three-ways. Stares at both Sean and Stella with primal lust in his eyes.
I'm not going to acknowledge that statement. Even though I'm the one who said we need to have a father-son chat earlier, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Are you a father or stepfather? Because apparently this is going to get really weird in his eyes. Holy shit, Corey Graves referenced Bobby and Strowman's last man standing match from Extreme Rules a couple years ago. Continuality is rare in WWE these days.
Yeah, it is.
That powerbomb... Continue.
No, please. I had nothing of value to say.
All right, just like the rest of the commentary team.
Exactly.
That powerbomb through the table was... That powerbomb through the table was awesome until the fake "This is awesome" chant ruined it. Did you notice that Drew McIntyre's back of his head hit the ground because Braun Strowman doesn't know how to do powerbombs correctly?
Yes, I did. That looked nasty.
and not in a good way. It was not safe at all, and Drew's lucky he doesn't have a concussion.
Yeah, good thing they reassembled the announce table.
Anyone else feel like the only reason Braun was in this match at all was to eat a spear from Lashley and get pinned? That's the whole point of why he was in the match.
That's why Asuka was there.
Exactly. To be filler matches for feuds that we actually really want to see, but to extend them past a pay-per-view we didn't really care about to get them to the next pay-per-view. Damn it, WWE.
This is after Zombies, of course. In case we forgot.
Spear and pins him. Who could have seen that coming? Easily the best match of the night thus far, even though it was kind of predictable. Kind of like this whole show. Hopefully we get Lashley and Drew inside Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, that's all I'm hoping for at this point. But, God, this was rough. I mean, as far as this whole show up to this point, I wouldn't blame anybody for shutting the show off at any point prior to now. But, boy, they would have missed a great match if they had.
Oh, yeah.
So we conclude the night with what easily is the only match on this show that's worth watching, worth a damn. It is Roman Reigns versus Cesaro for the Universal Championship. And I am really, really thankful that this match was not just Cesaro being the fourth wheel in the Usos and Roman Reigns deal.
Because the whole video package before, it felt like Cesaro was the fourth wheel. Even though he was challenger, he felt like the fourth most important person in that storyline.
Yeah. And so we start this match with a drone shot. And honestly, this one, I'm starting to hate it less, honestly, because they're using it a lot less frequently. And I don't mind when it's occasional. It's when they did it at the Rumble for every single participant that I didn't care for it.
If you're going to use it as the main event angle. That way we can see them as they're coming to the ring. Because then at least we know it's special attraction. It's the main event. It's the best competitors in the ring, in the company. Do it like that.
Yeah.
Not for every single person. Like every single Joe and Angle.
Well, and speaking of every single...
His name is Joe.
And speaking of every single Joe, Tom, Dick, and Harry, we get Greg Hamilton, who I hate with a burning passion. He might be the person who has the most heat with me on this entire company. I am so done with Greg
Even ahead of Kevin Dunn?
I wouldn't mind Kevin Dunn's stuff if I could never hear Greg Hamilton ever again.
That's saying something, because you told Kevin Dunn that you were going to shiv his teeth off.
Yeah,
I don't want to even imagine what you're going to do to the body of Greg Hamilton.
Which I still might. Greg Hamilton, it's just, he's so, it's like, with Justin Roberts, he's a glitch bot, and it's just as fake and over-exaggerated, but with Hamilton, it's like he's trying to be a ring announcer. And it makes him sound disingenuous, just announcing people's heights and weights and names. How do you do that? It's like,
because he wants to be part of the show.
But then Pat McAfee's microphone started having audio issues, and it's a shame because Pat is such a natural wrestling personality. I heard it again here in this match. God, Pat McAfee's good.
But this match and this segment also had all the technical issues of the show, which we will get to later on during the beatdown.
Yep. But this match was terrific. I loved every bit of this. The one count kickouts, that the whole time as they were setting that up. And it was just, these are two professionals. Their chemistry, I did not expect them to have the chemistry in the ring that these two had.
No, but that's the thing, though, is that Roman and Cesaro have had matches over the years that have always been good. These guys have a surprising amount of chemistry. Their styles just work well with each other.
Yeah. And Roman, and then, another credit to Roman Reigns, too. Roman Reigns' selling has improved drastically from when he started. It might be one of the best things he does now.
Well, you would say that, but I think the thing that Roman Reigns does the best is throw a mean punch.
True. I'll give you that. I'll definitely give you that.
Every punch Roman Reigns threw was with intent, with malice, with venomous viper in his veins. He throws every punch because he wants to hurt someone.
Yeah. And it was...
And the other thing, too, is that this match, for me, it didn't really start until Roman threw Cesaro outside the ring, and Cesaro landed awkwardly on his right arm, and he started selling the right arm injury.
Yep. All match, by the way. That's something to pay attention for you kids out there. There was not a moment where the man known as Cesaro wasn't selling that arm, hence why he couldn't get the big swing all night. It was
Could not hit the swing.
It was
Could
just
not
great.
Hit the neutralizer. Could not hit any of his big moves because of the arm injury and Roman Reigns working it.
It was just, these guys did such a great job. This was the first time, another matchup, then the first time in a long time where I was like, you know what? This match deserved fans. This was going to be one of those matches where, could you imagine the support for Cesaro during this match?
This match definitely was one of the ones where if the fans were in, they would have them eating out of the palms of their hands.
Yeah. Yeah, this would have been a huge... I mean, this would have been... The fans would have done everything that these two would have wanted as far as cheering and booing is concerned. They do all this really great stuff. They do the Superman punch counter, which looked great. That second rope suplex looks great. To the point where I almost thought Cesaro could actually pull it off.
I was begging for Cesaro to win. I wanted him to win so bad. His personal story, fighting for over year after year after year, 20 years in the business, working small shows in front of 10 people, to fighting for the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns, no remorse, no sympathy. He just destroyed him.
Now, and I just loved the whole thing. Like, even Cesaro, like, about to power out of the guillotine. I was like, oh my God, is he going to power out of the guillotine? Which would have been insane. But, of course...
would have gotten so much of a pop from the fans.
Yeah. But, of course, he couldn't do it. My only complaint about this whole thing was I really wish that they would have... I know I like Roman Reigns choking people out and people being choked out as the finish because nobody's tapping. I like that. But I really wish Cesaro wouldn't have been pinned flat. This is one of those few times I was like, come on, give me a fuck finish. Let me know that Cesaro's going to get another shot at some point. That I was really hoping for that.
Okay, once again, we have to embrace debate. Every Roman Reigns match has had a fuck finish. Except for... no, every match he's had has had someone else involved, or involved in cheating, or involved someone else doing something in the ring. Everything has had Roman Reigns cheating his way to victory.
No, I completely agree.
The only one that you could even maybe argue that he didn't cheat was a triple threat at WrestleMania. And even then, it's triple threat, no disqualification, so he can't really cheat in that kind of match. This was the first match where Roman Reigns won on his own. And that was the story, that the Usos had to keep helping him to retain his title. But Roman Reigns proved in this match that not only is he the tribal chief, but he can win on his own. And he made Cesaro not tap out, but pass out.
Yeah.
And Cesaro fought it off like a babyface. He tried to get out of it as best he could.
Yep.
And he could not. And Roman Reigns made him pass out because he's such a physical specimen.
Yeah. And I'm not disputing any of that with you, Sky, because I completely agree with everything you just said. Because it's conflicting. Because it's Cesaro. And this is like the one babyface guy of anyone that Roman Reigns has faced up to now where I think he would have gotten a bigger reception than Daniel Bryan did at WrestleMania. To be dead honest with you. I think Cesaro would have gotten a bigger pop. Because it's never happened for Cesaro before. And that's why I'm so happy this was a clean match and it did end clean. I'm so happy that it did. But at the same time, couldn't you have given Roman Reigns some more clean wins up to now? So that this could have been a fuck finish? So that we could have seen Cesaro won? I know that's asking a lot of WWE. I get it. It's because I'm such a fan of Cesaro. I guess that's what it is. Again, it's kind of like the last match, or kind of like the women's match. I don't mind the finish. I just wish that they had set the finish up to where they could have done a different finish that would have benefited both of these guys, or at least benefited Cesaro going forward. But
And
it's still, not to take anything away
him.
from this match, because this match was tremendous. You know, not knocking any of this. This match was easily the best match on the show, and it was absolutely A grade. This is just, it's all just the way that WWE formats it. It's always my problem, like almost every time.
But that's another thing, too, is that long-term planning and storytelling. You could have booked Roman Reigns' title reign to be different, so that you could have afforded to have a couple of clean finishes early on. Like, you could have had matches where Roman Reigns beat Kevin Owens clean, or Daniel Bryan clean, and then you could have done the fuck finish with Cesaro. And then, here's the thing, though. How do you feel about the aftermatch?
It was too much afters. It was too much aftermath. That was my only issue. I think there was too much going on because they did the Jay and Jimmy deal, and then out comes Seth Rollins wearing a suit that apparently fucking Van Gogh just started to spray his paint on.
And they stole my fucking thing from National Wrestling League once again.
And then Seth beats down Cesaro, and I almost thought he was going to join Roman Reigns, but I guess that's separate. But they still beat down Cesaro after the whole Usos and Roman Reigns deal, and I was like, well, this was similar to NWL, which I laughed at a little bit. But this whole ending here just gave me all the more reason that a fuck finish would have been better. Because then you could wait on that. Because then you could have this feud with Seth Rollins because he's not done with Cesaro. They have this feud. They go to SummerSlam. And then Cesaro later on can face Roman Reigns and say, you know, you technically didn't beat me the way you should have. You couldn't beat me clean. And you were lucky because I had Seth Rollins to deal with. And I had to take care of some business before I got back to you. But now I'm coming back to you, and I'm going for that belt that I technically never truly, cleanly lost the opportunity for.
Right, and that's the hope I have, is that Cesaro will beat Rollins. I wonder if they put that in the cell. Like, the way I'm looking at Hell in the Cell, you could do 2 or 3 matches in the cell. I would just stick with 2. And the 2 I would go with would be Cesaro and Seth Rollins, and then whoever, Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. And those 2 would just be fine.
Yeah.
Don't do a third one with the women. Whatever you do, do not do a third one with the women.
Oh, you know for a fact they're gonna, though. You know they're gonna.
Equal opportunity, right?
That's right. Of
But the other
course.
thing too, but the other thing too, and I'm laughing at this because I thought about it. Did this happen to you during your feed? Rollins, I don't call him Roman, I don't know why. Seth Rollins is beating up Cesaro outside, and then the sound cuts out, and then the picture cuts out the Technicolor and clocks on the screen for 10 seconds before they go back.
Somebody thought that they were done, and they were not done. And then like 20 seconds later, they were done.
So apparently someone from WWE didn't tell NBC that they were going to do an after angle that was going to last that long, and they cut it.
Beautiful. After everything that we did for NBC, after giving you that movie promo, and that's the thanks we get.
We're going back to Fox.
Oh, God. Oh, Lord Almighty. What did Josh Again have to say about this match?
Oh, what do you have to say about this match? Despite my complaints about the WWE title, once again not headlining show, it is great to see Cesaro in the main event for a world title, even if it is a world title as decrepit and useless as the Universal Jockstrap.
True.
And I know, Skyler, Roman has been a great champion and has helped the belt's image, and I'm putting that in quotation marks, via this reign. However, I still say, fuck this stupid fruit by the foot belt.
It could be designed better.
It could be designed better. God, I love the chemistry between these two, and they both hit hard. I'm getting hard just watching this. Okay, whatever, Joshua, calm down. That boot in the corner on Cesaro was brutal, and Jesus, that bruise on the inside of his elbow looks really bad. I hope Cesaro didn't legit injure his arm. That's the other thing, too. His selling was so good, I legit thought he broke his arm.
Yeah, you couldn't tell. because he's just so good.
WWE wrestlers, look and study Cesaro as he masterfully sells his arm. This is how you do it. This is how you do it.
Yep.
I'm so glad Cesaro brought back the apron superplex. I haven't seen him do that in ages. Roman is so good as a heel. God, this match rules. That roll through into the guillotine by Roman was so good. I love this shit.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so glad Roman won clean. Makes his reign feel legit. Excellent match. Easily the best thing on the show. Closing the show with Cesaro getting jumped by Seth Rollins with a paint dump all over his white jacket was kind of random. But okay. Maybe setting up a cell match between Rollins and Cesaro. Now, here's the thing. What if Cesaro beats up Seth Rollins? Then they're supposed to have Money in the Bank in July. And let's say Cesaro win Money in the Bank. And he tells Roman he's going to cash in on him at SummerSlam. And he wants him to know so that when he's ready, there's no excuses for when he beats him and Cesaro beats him in front of a crowd at SummerSlam.
I think if Cesaro's going to win it, he should win it in front of a crowd.
And if they're going to do it, the first available show that's going to have a crowd is SummerSlam.
I think if there's ever a time to do it, it's going to be then. I think now that they've got the appetite into people's brains, if he doesn't do it now, people are going to just expect that it's never going to happen. So if you're going to do it, WWE, it's coming up.
All right, so final thoughts. For a B show with a fucking dumb name, this was actually enjoyable, despite the absurdly stupid zombie match. Honestly, I heard from several people who actually turned the show off when that happened, and I don't blame them. The last two matches were really good. SmackDown's women's match was decent, and the SmackDown tag match had good field moments. I would like to give the show a good grade, but the zombie segment was so goddamn atrocious and insulting that I could not do it in good conscience. So all in all, I give Backlash 2021 a 5 out of 10. Minus the zombies, an easy 7.5, maybe even an 8, but no major points taken off for that match. That's all I have for you, scrumptious fellas. So till next time, I'm off to give Ronald McDonald a toothy blowjob. Gotta get that sweet and sour sauce later.
Well, that's about as Josh again the notes as you could possibly ask for. And it's interesting that he mentioned the ratings because I actually gave it the same grade. Mostly because there was a lot of potential good on this show. There was one that was really good on this show, and others that had its moments. And I think also I probably would have graded this much lower had I actually watched that zombie nightmare. But there was good on this show. It wasn't the worst thing they've ever put out, but the worst thing they've ever put out was on this show, if that makes any sense.
Easily worst match of the year.
Yeah.
And that's saying something because we had an exploding barbed wire death match that had no explosions and blood and guts, which was good up until an ending so bad it makes Michael Bay films look good.
And all the Fiend stuff.
And all the Fiendy stuff.
So what did you have a grade for this, sir?
So you officially give it a 5 out of 10?
Yes.
Okay. I'm tempted to give this a Bret Hart 4 out of 10. But that would be doing a disservice to the main event and the work that they did, and also the good work that I saw in the women's SmackDown match. And I even liked the first triple threat, even if it was a triple threat. I mean, but every match, had you taken the zombie match out and put Sheamus and Ricochet as the first match of the show, this would have been so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Why not do the zombie match on the pre-show?
No.
It's like, just get that out of the way. Don't make people watch that. Don't make people pay to watch that.
Well, people are not going to watch it anyway because it's the pre-show. Anyways, point is, I'm going to agree with you guys and say 5 out of 10. I think we're all in agreement that this show was very in the middle. It had the potential to actually be a surprisingly good show, but I would have given it a higher score, like a 7, if it wasn't for the fact that it had the zombies in it.
Yeah.
But because we had to do that movie promotion, which, by the way, Batista, you're on the list.
Yeah, and honestly, just this is wrestling now, folks. So if you're expecting a serious method of competition where everyone's taking things seriously, you're just not going to find it anymore. And I hate to say that, but it is the case. But what you'll always have is the comfort in knowing that you can come to a place where we will expose these things about the wrestling business, and we will be able to speak with you, the fans of not only pro wrestling, but also here at the Court-Martail podcast, but not right now, because it is time for us to take a break, our first commercial break. And when we come back, Sky, it seems like we always have to do this after a pay-per-view. Once again, we got to show them how it's done.
If you want to see how to book these wrestlers exactly in the proper way and with the proper booking and the proper match structure that they deserve, tune in next week. National Wrestling League and ACPW, Atlantic Coast Pro Wrestling, showing them how to do it done. Until then, I will see you all later from the Bay Area Brawler.
That's right, and I am, of course, your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty. Thank God we're past Backlash. It's now time to move forward for some exciting programming next week. We'll see you there, because we will be right back.